Hi everyone, today is Monday, June 29th, and it has been a little while since I've made a video, even longer since I've made an empties video, and my empties bag has been getting very full. I think the last empties video I shared was about 2 months ago. So before June ended, I wanted to hop on and share what I've been warming and enjoying with Scentsy. All right, and first up, I wanted to talk about the July edit bars. So I was able to get my hands on these a little early. They will be available on the website starting July 1st. I actually quit subscribing to the Scent of the Month program, but someone who I work with is a Scentsy consultant and she had some of these bars, so I was able to pick them up from her, and I'm very glad that I was able to have a chance to smell these a little early. So there are 4 bars included in the July edit. The first is the scent of the month. This is Limone Fresco. This is lemon zest, limoncello, and sponge sugar. And I love a good lemon scent, so I was very excited about this. And then they have 3 other scents to kind of round out the edit. Aria di Milano, that's a very pretty color. This is citrus, iris, and cotton musk. And then next up we have Mercato di Napoli. This is mandarin, neroli petals, and white musk. And then finally we have Terrazza del Sole. This is lemon, crushed mint, and jasmine. So I actually picked these up from her while we were at work. So the first time I smelled these, I was just kind of smelling them very quickly. And my favorite on cold sniff at that time was actually Mercato di Napoli. There was something very kind of citrusy, perfumey, summery about this scent that I really enjoyed on cold. To me, this almost smells like it has a little bit of like a peach perfuminess to it. So I was really excited about that one. My second favorite on cold was probably Aria di Milano. I didn't get a very good sniff of this at work, but this just smelled kind of fresh and perfumey to me, a little floral. My third favorite on cold was the Terrazza del Sole. And then my fourth favorite on cold was the Limone Fresco. So like I said, I love a good lemon scent and I was really excited for this one. There's something a little off-putting about this scent. I smelled it on cold and it actually came through on warm as well for me. It's not totally unpleasant, but there's something about it that just doesn't quite sit right with my nose. And actually Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Scenes and Scents was spot on. She said that she could pick up a little hint of like a melon note in this, and I totally agree. I think what's kind of throwing me off is when I first smell this, I get kind of a very green scent. And to me, it kind of smells like a fresh green cucumber peel, or like the very green pithy note that's in aloe vera and ivy. So it kind of smells like the green rind of a melon. I'm getting a lot of that. There's not a lot of sweetness to this scent. And there's actually a little bit of kind of like a saltiness to this. It's actually a little more savory than it is sweet. It is very fresh and bright and kind of cool and refreshing, but there's definitely nothing sweet to this scent. It doesn't smell super candy-like. It just smells almost like cucumber, lemon, water to me. So it is refreshing. It was a really good performer. But there's just something about that kind of green cucumber melon note in here that isn't my favorite lemon scent. So I probably would warm this again if I got it like in the bundle that's coming up with the July edit. I just don't think this would be like a club contender. Like I said, it was a really good performer in our open concept, but on warm, this remained in last place for me out of these 4. And then my rankings for the other ones did change up a little bit. So my third favorite on warm was actually Mercato di Napoli. So the bar that I thought I would like the most actually went down a few notches for me. I decided to warm this in our bedroom. And it was actually a pretty light performer in our bedroom. But there's something about this scent that smells like it shares the base of Cloudberry Dreams to me. And I know that Cloudberry Dreams is a very polarizing scent, and I don't want to scare anyone by making that comparison. There's just something about like the perfumey base of that scent that smells similar to me with Mercato di Napoli. So this wasn't unpleasant. I actually like Cloudberry Dreams, but there's just something a little similar about the two to me. So if you've had a chance to smell this, you'll have to let me know what you think. So I actually just pulled up the scent notes for Cloudberry Dreams. It says, sweet raspberry and a whisper of rose soar through billowy bursts of peach and vanilla. And I don't know, there's something about the peach note in Cloudberry Dreams that's reminding me a little bit of the fruity note in Mercato di Napoli. It must be the mandarin. This doesn't smell super, super zesty citrus to me. This is a little bit more of a muted perfumey kind of fruity citrus note. It does smell a little bit like peach to me. So yeah, if you've had a chance to smell this, you'll have to let me know your thoughts on that. All right, now the next two actually blew me away. I was so surprised by both of these, and I think that they are both club contenders. So I think in second place on warm is Aria di Milano. And like I said, when I smelled this at work, I just smelled it very quickly. But when I got home, I actually had a chance to take the fragrance in a little bit more, and I realized that it reminded me of something. And it actually reminds me so much of the scent Beautiful Day from Bath and Body Works. That used to be my go-to everyday scent that I would wear like to work. And I was really sad when they discontinued it, but this smells very, very similar. So they both smell very bright and clean and crisp. I think Beautiful Day has an apple note, and Aria di Milano definitely has more of kind of a citrus note, but they're both mixed with really, really pretty, like clean, crisp florals. And they smell very, very similar to my nose. I would actually call this a dupe of Beautiful Day. So you'll have to let me know if you've had a chance to smell this. This was a standout performer in my bedroom. This was very strong. In fact, my husband asked if I could like turn a warmer off because it was so strong. So I think that I would definitely cut down on cubes if I warmed this again in a small space. I do think that this would be a open concept worthy scent. And it was just very pleasant. It lasted for days, and I think this will probably be going in my club. So that is Aria di Milano. And then a huge pleasant surprise for me on warm has been Terrazza del Sole. I love this scent. This is actually going in my kitchen and living area upstairs right now. It's a very strong scent. I can definitely smell it throughout my open concept. I actually just put it in today, so I'm not as certain about the longevity of this scent, but this is very strong and it is so pleasant. So I was actually really looking for a signature go-to citrus scent for the summer months, and I think that this is it. I was a little hesitant or a little nervous about the crushed mint note in this, not because I don't like mint scents, I actually really do, but my husband does not like mint scents, and I was worried that this would veer into the territory of something like Mojito Mambo. This is definitely not as minty as that. Mojito Mambo really does smell like muddled mint and lime. This mint note is there, but it just adds a little bit of freshness to the scent, a little bit of coolness to the scent. And honestly, if I smelled this without knowing that mint was in it, I don't know if I'd be able to put my finger on that mint note. I just know that this smells very fresh, vibrant, citrusy, cool. I love this. I think that this is definitely going to be a club contender for me. I want to stock up on this and warm this the rest of the summer. This is so pleasant. I really, really love Terrazza del Sole. So I think that Aria di Milano and Terrazza del Sole will both be going in my club. I did enjoy Mercato di Napoli. I just don't think it's as stand out to me as the other two, or as unique to me as the other two, but it definitely is pleasant and I would not hesitate to warm it again. Limone Fresco was just a little disappointing to me because I was really, really wanting kind of like a go-to sweet lemon scent. I have that in Sparkling Yellow though, so this is different. It's a little bit on the cleaner side of things. It is fresh, but I'm not getting a lot of the sponge sugar that it says is in here. So those are my thoughts on the 4 July edit bars. I'm definitely excited to stock up on a few of these and add some to club. So you'll have to let me know what you think of these, if you've had a chance to smell them, or what you're most excited for. All right, and I have a ton of other empties, so I'm just going to dive into this big bag of empties and kind of rapid fire talk through these. So I'm very proud of myself because I finished a brick. This is the Dumbo Soar High Through the Sky, and this was actually really, really pleasant. This was a sweet, kind of bright, citrusy, tropical kind of scent. It was really pleasant. I don't know, it smells like there might be a hint of banana in this. I just really like it. It was a really, really good performer. So if I ever saw this on like a clearance sale, I would definitely pick this up. I really, really enjoyed that. In my bedroom, I finished a bar of Blooming Hyacinth and Santal. This was part of the Bloomy collection earlier in the year, and I still love it. This is a very creamy, perfumey, sweet coconut. It is beautiful and a really good performer. I actually added this one to my club. In our open concept, actually after I had taken the Limone Fresco out of my warmers, I decided I wanted kind of a tried and true lemon scent, and I went with Lemon Sorbet. So this was a flat-backed bar in the old packaging. I did not add this to my Scentsy club, and it did not make a return in the catalog, but this is a really, really pleasant, sweet, fresh lemon. Yeah, definitely compared to the Limone Fresco, smelling this definitely has a lot more sweetness, a little bit more of a candy-like or sorbet-like quality. This isn't a super strong performer for me, and that's why I did not add this one to my club. I love Sparkling Yellow, and that's the lemon scent that I have in my club now. So Lemon Sorbet is a classic. So I've definitely been in a citrusy mood. I also warmed through a bar of Summer Sippin'. I believe that this was part of a Bring Back My Bar last year, and I actually was just holding on to it to warm it this year. This is not my favorite lemon scent. This is very, very, very tart. I think it's supposed to smell like maybe berry lemonade, but the lemon note in this is actually bordering on cleaner lemon, and it's just not pleasant to my nose. So I was definitely not sad to get through this bar of Summer Sippin'. As part of this year's Mother's Day release, we got Passion Flower Paradise. This is honeydew, pineapple, and passion flower. And actually, this reminds me so much of watermelon tangerine. There's a very, very sweet, almost like body care melon note here, mixed with the passion flower. This is just so tropical and cool. I loved this in our bedroom, and actually I did add this one to my Scentsy club. And from this year's Bring Back My Bar, I went through a bar of Sunny and Share. I was actually really excited to see this one back. This used to be one of my favorite scents. I actually had a little stockpile of it, but my bars had definitely turned. They started smelling very sour and off, so I ended up having to throw those old bars away. So like I said, I was excited to see this make a comeback. The notes on the packaging don't match the notes on the website, and I trust the notes on the website. On the packaging, it says this is grapefruit, pineapple, and berries. And then on the website, it says a sunny shore washed clean by a spring shower, soft sea air, golden citrus, and dewy driftwood scattered with white beach daisies. I definitely agree with that description more. I had always thought that there was like a green tea note in this scent, and I do still pick up on that. It's a very pleasant scent, but when I warmed this, it just came off a little bit musky to my nose, a little bit on like the heavy perfumey side of things. And I just didn't enjoy it as much now as I did in the past. So you'll have to let me know what you think of Sonny and Cher. It's definitely very pleasant, but I don't think I need to add that to my Scentsy club. I have a bar of Star Apple and Freesia. This had actually been in my club for a little while. I ended up pulling it just because I was getting quite the little stash of this. This, I think, was part of a summer collection a few years ago. This is just bright, tropical, fruity floral. It's a really good performer. I really like it in my bedroom. It smells nice and clean. So if I saw this make a comeback, I would definitely pick more of this one up. I warmed through a bar of Tropical Rumba Cooler. So this was part of the re-released Let's Dance collection. This actually wasn't in the original Let's Dance collection when they were bricks, but this was a new addition to that collection when it came back out last year sometime. I actually didn't end up picking that collection up for me, but I did order it in as a present for someone. So I was able to sniff through all of the bars when they re-released that collection. The Lemon Drop It Low was a completely different scent from the original brick. And then this scent to me was just kind of a generic tropical fruit punch kind of scent. Scentsy says this has passion fruit, pink grapefruit, pineapple juice, and a hint of lime zest. And so it does just smell kind of like a tropical fruit punch. Actually, when this was warming, my husband commented that he did not like this scent. It smelled kind of like overly ripe fruit with a little hint of body odor. And I think it's probably coming from the passion fruit. Very hit or miss on passion fruit. Sometimes it can smell very tropical and sweet and fruity, and then sometimes it can come off a little acrid. And unfortunately for us, this did lean on that side of things. So this wouldn't be a repurchase for me, but I was glad that I had a chance to pick that up in the clearance section and give it a try. I also warmed a bar of Happiest Celebration. This was part of the Disneyland Resort 70th anniversary release. So Scentsy says this is orange blossom, vanilla sugar, Caribbean coconut. And this was very, very powerful. This was really strong. I actually get a lot of a very tropical fruit. It actually is leaning a little bit kind of like papaya peach to me. I don't get as much of like the orange blossom. There's a little hint of coconut, but this is definitely a little bit kind of like peachy papaya to me. This wasn't a club scent for me just because it is a licensed bar, but if I saw this one on clearance, I probably would pick this one up again. It was very pleasant. I finished a bar of Keep On Bloomin'. This was a scent of the month last year in the spring. This is such a pretty, clean floral. It is a little on the heady side of things, but it is very, very pleasant. It smells like a clean floral shampoo to me. So this was really, really pleasant. I actually had this in my club for a little while. I took it out just because Scentsy has been releasing a ton of floral scents. So there's no shortage of florals around here. But this one was very, very pleasant and a good performer. I went through a bar of Lemon, Sugar, and Sage. So this was part of my citrus lemon era. This was a scent of the month last year. They actually brought it back in the catalog this year. I was kind of surprised that they brought this one back instead of lemon sorbet or sparkling yellow, because the sage note in this one actually does make it, I think, a little more niche and maybe not as universally appealing as a bright kind of sweet fruity lemon, but this is very, very pleasant. It's a very clean smelling and a really good performer, so I do like that one. I actually had that one in my club. I went through a bar of Ambrosia. So this was part of a Bring Back My Bar a few years ago. I stocked up on this one, and this is really pleasant. This reminds me of something, and I've never been able to put my finger on it, but it is a kind of mix of fruity scents, but there's something very clean and bright about this scent, and it's a really good performer, so I would definitely repurchase Ambrosia. I finished a bar of Strawberries and Sunshine. So this was part of the Mother's Day collection last year, and then they re-released it again this year for Mother's Day, and I actually went over to my parents' house and my mom was warming this scent and it smelled so good in their house. I had actually kind of forgotten about it, but it smelled so good in their house that it made me want to repurchase this and actually add it to my club. So this is in my spring summer club for the time being. This is just a strong, very pleasant, kind of clean strawberry scent. There's something very fruity about it, but there's something a little effervescent and clean. I think this must have a little bit of citrus in it as well. In fact, let's look up the notes. So Scentsy says this is white woods, bright yuzu, and wild strawberry. So yes, it's the yuzu in this that's just making this feel very bright, juicy, a little citrusy, really, really pleasant. And this was a really good performer. So this actually is in my club for the time being. I went through a bar of coconut daiquiri. So this has been in my club and then it made a reappearance this year. So I hope that if you were missing this one, you got a chance to add it to your club. This is a really nice kind of pina colada type scent, but there is a very distinct banana note in this to me. It just smells very sophisticated summer pina colada. I really, really like this one. And I'm missing a true pina colada scent in this year's catalog. We also haven't seen very many like limited releases that just smell very like tropical, creamy, fruity coconut. And so I'm glad that I have coconut daiquiri in my club. I hope that you were able to add it to your club if you were missing that one. I went through a bar of Blue Skies and Bergamot. This actually did make it into the catalog this year. It was a scent of the month last year. This is just clean, kind of aquatic floral. It's just a good kind of background scent. I warmed this in my bedroom and bathroom and it was very pleasant. I went through a bar of My Only Sunshine. I think that this was part of a vault release. It's hard for me to keep track of all of these re-releases, but this is a very, very pretty, warm, ambery, kind of sunny floral type scent. I really, really like this one in the warm months of summer and it's a good performer for me. So that is My Only Sunshine. I went through a bar of Sippin' Poolside. So I think this was a new release maybe 2 years ago. And then I was sad when they didn't bring it back in the catalog. This is a very tart, kind of tropical, fruity scent. There's something very like aquatic chlorine about this scent too. It's very pleasant. It's very, very summery. And I miss Sippin' Poolside. So that would definitely be a repurchase for me if I saw it again. I went through a bar of Luck of the Rainbow. So this was a scent of the month a few years ago. This is kind of like a sweet, fruity Fruit Loops kind of scent. It's very sweet, very fruity, and just a fun one to have on hand. I went through a bar of Coconut Blossoms. So this was a scent of the month, I think last year, and then it actually made it back in the catalog this year. It's not my favorite. This is the kind of almost like woodsy, masculine leaning coconut that Scentsy sometimes does that I'm just not a fan of. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think of Coconut Blossoms. It's that mix of that kind of woodsy coconut with kind of an aquatic scent that just doesn't hit right for my nose. So I had a little stockpile of this, I think from when it was a scent of the month. I'm just trying to get through those. I finished a bar of Plumeria Peach. So this was a scent of the month years ago now. This was so pleasant. I was just craving this scent in my bedroom. This is bright. This is very juicy peach mixed perfectly with that tropical Plumeria. This is such a nice scent for summer. This would definitely be a repurchase if I saw that come back. I went through a bar of Tropical Coconut Nectar. So like I said, I was just kind of craving those pina colada type scents. And unfortunately, this one just does not check the box for me. This one actually is in the catalog right now. And Scentsy says this is coconut, peach nectar, and pineapple. And so you definitely do get the peach and pineapple. There's something a little waxy about this scent, and it actually smells a little bit like cardboard to me too. I did get scent circles in Tropical Coconut Nectar because I was looking for a replacement for Pina Colada Cha Cha, which I love, and I think is actually kind of a hole missing in the catalog. So I decided to give the scent circles a chance in Tropical Coconut Nectar, and then I wanted to revisit the wax. And I thought that it was just the scent circle being made of cardboard that was making it smell like cardboard to me, but it's actually the scent itself. I think it's just that combination is coming off a little waxy, a little artificial, a little flat like cardboard, and I don't think this would be a repurchase for me, unfortunately. I went through a very old bar of Kahiko Hula, so this was a flat-backed bar. I have had this in my club since it retired from the catalog, and we did see it back in Bring Back My Bar this summer. I love this. This is probably my favorite tropical, like fruity type scent. It just smells so cool and refreshing and sophisticated to me. It's a really good performer. I think this has papaya in it, and papaya is kind of a hit or miss scent for me, but this is just one of my favorites, and I did re-add this to my spring summer club. I went through an old favorite, Pink Cotton. This is one of my favorite scents for the bedroom. I really miss this one in the catalog. Right now, as part of the June Jubilee, they actually have some washer whiffs available in Pink Cotton, and that is my all-time favorite washer whiff scent. So if you're missing Pink Cotton, it's available right now in washer whiffs. I went through an old bar of the Cars Radiator Springs. So this was another flat-backed bar. I've been trying to get through some of my older bars in my collection before they turn, because I have noticed that some of the bars, especially if they are a little bit more on like the fruity or aquatic side, citrusy side of things, I found that they actually have been starting to smell a little rancid. So I've been trying to go through my collection and use some of these older bars. This was just a very bright fruit punch kind of scent. We used this down in our family room, and it was very pleasant. Here's an old bar of Lemon Thyme Berry. So this was a flat-backed bar. This was part of an old Bring Back My Bar. And I think we saw this available in a vault promotion recently, and I was kind of toying with the idea of putting it back in my club. I decided to hold off just because I do have a lot of other really nice kind of fruity, summery scents, but this is so pleasant. You do get the lemon, you do get the berry. It smells like a very sweet berry lemonade, and it's a really good performer. I went through a bar of Follow the Rainbow. So I think this was released as part of a St. Patrick's Day collection a few years ago. And I can't remember if this one reminds me of Bora Bora Blossom or Darling Dahlia, but there's something kind of floral about this scent, like a saturated fruity floral, and it was very pleasant. I think I used this in our bedroom. It was very strong, but just kind of one of those like generic fruity florals that Scentsy tends to do. I went through an old bar of Sparkling Yellow. So this was actually when it was part of the Chase Rainbows collection before it had been renamed. This one actually did get a little juicy. I don't know if you can tell, but this is just a perfect go-to bright, juicy, sweet lemon scent. It is a really, really good performer. It is very strong. So this one will definitely stay in my club. I finished a bar of Count in the Stars. So I used this one down in our family room. And this is the one that does have like the leather mixed with strawberry, and it was actually quite pleasant. After a while, the leather note toned down quite a bit, and it was just this very sophisticated strawberry, and it actually lasted a really, really long time. So that surprised me. I liked it more than I thought I would. I finished an old favorite. This is Friend Like Me. So this is from the Aladdin collection. This was a flat-backed bar. This was part of the May Melting Challenge, like a open the window kind of scent. This to me is really just the smell of fresh spring air, and I love it. This actually would be a repurchase for me, even though it is a licensed bar. It is so good, so pleasant. I finished a bar of Rainbow Red. This was also from the Chase Rainbows collection. This was part of the Bring Back My Bar, so I wanted to revisit it, and it's just not my favorite red berry fruity scent. I think it's the combination of the watermelon with the cherry and berry that's just a little much for me. It was a strong performer. I actually wanted to make like a tiger's blood type mix. So I warmed this with my coconut daiquiri, and this just totally blew coconut daiquiri out of the water. So this is a really strong performer. It's just not my favorite red berry scent. From this year's Bring Back My Bar, I did a bar of banana berry. This one actually really took me by surprise. I really liked this scent. This was not what I was expecting. So this is actually a very like soft, almost perfumey body care type banana scent with a little bit of sweetness from the berry. You might expect something very bright and bold with a name like Banana Berry, but this is very soft and sweet. And it was really pleasant. It was actually a really good performer in my bedroom. So I did stock up a little bit on this one. I didn't add it to my club, but this would be a repurchase for me. I finished an old bar of Juicy Apple Raspberry. This was part of the Mix It collection, and I pulled this as part of my May Melting Challenge. This is just a really nice kind of candy-like apple raspberry note. There's something very like sugary sweet about this scent. It was one of my favorites. I actually did stock up a little bit on this one. I don't know if it would be a repurchase for me at this point in time, just because I have a lot of other favorite like fruity, sweet berry scents, but this was a really good performer. I went through a bar of June's Scent of the Month, Red, White, and Sparkle. This is berries, sugared plums, and vanilla, and I loved this scent. So right when I smelled it, it reminded me so much of one of my all-time favorite berry scents. This is Berry Bright. This is actually still in my club. I love this scent. This one has always reminded me of kind of like a cotton candy blue raspberry, but I do think this has a sugar plum note in it. So they do share that kind of base of a deeper fruity berry, but I just love it. It's very sweet and kind of candy-like. This is the kind of berry scent that I really like warming in July, so in like the heat of the summer. So I actually have this one in my quarterly club, and I am hoping that we'll see Berry Bright back one day so I can move it over to my bi-monthly club, which has turned into my spring summer club. But for the time being, I am going to add Red, White, and Sparkle to my bi-monthly spring summer club. They're very similar. This one actually was a really good performer for me. I could smell it in my open concept. Berry Bright is a boomer. This is one I can actually smell outside of our house when I'm warming it inside. So these are both really good performers for me. And actually I have a Red, White, and Sparkle scent circle in my car right now, and it is doing really well. I'm really sad that they sold out of the scent circles in Red, White, and Sparkle, because I would pick up more of those if I could. I've been very hit or miss with scent circles recently, more misses than hits, unfortunately, and Red, White, and Sparkle is actually performing really well. So I hope that we see this back maybe next year in a summer collection. I would love to get my hands on more of the Red, White, and Sparkle scent circles. And like I said, these are both really good, sweet, kind of candy-like berry scents, perfect for summer. So you'll have to let me know if you've had a chance to warm Red, White, and Sparkle, June's Scent of the Month. And speaking of sweet berry scents, I went through a bar of Jam and Jubilee. I know a lot of people also compared Red, White, and Sparkle to Jam and Jubilee. This does have a very kind of saturated, like crystallized jam note. This is also very sweet. To me, I pick up a little bit more of that like cotton candy sweetness in Red, White, and Sparkle, where this one does smell like red jam with a lot of sugar in it. I know a lot of people have this one in their clubs. This isn't a club worthy bar to me, but it was really pleasant for the summer. I went through a bar of raspberry hibiscus tea. I was sad when they didn't bring this one back in the catalog. This is a really sophisticated kind of tart raspberry with that tea note. It is really, really pleasant and pretty unique, actually. I do miss raspberry hibiscus tea, so that would be a repurchase for me. I went through a bar of pear blossom and cucumber. This is actually a pretty old bar, and it was kind of losing its fragrance. I used to love this scent. This is a really nice one for a bedroom or bathroom. It's just kind of light, airy. You do get this kind of like body care pear blossom note, so it is really pleasant. Here's another bar of sparkling yellow. I went through a bar of Tahitian Twilight. This one actually reminds me quite a bit of the Strawberries and Sunshine from the Mother's Day collection, and we've had a chance to add this one to our clubs recently, so I also think that it's part of the clearance section right now. So if you liked Tahitian Twilight, it was a scent of the month a few years ago. It is really, really pleasant. I love this one in my bedroom. It's a really good performer. To me, I think I need to decide if I want to keep Tahitian Twilight or Strawberries and Sunshine in my club, because they are very similar, but this one is just such a pleasant bedroom scent for the summer. I went through an old favorite, Appealing Apple. So this was a bar from my scent of the month kit, so it is quite old. This one is in my Scentsy club. This is just a very clean, kind of perfumey apple scent. We love this one in the spring. My husband loves apple scents, so I really like that one. I finished a very old bar of Mariposa Lily, and I was very proud of myself because I've been holding on to this for a really long time. I warmed this as part of the May Melting Challenge on Mother's Day, and this is such a pretty scent. I would love to see this one come back in a Bring Back My Bar or Vault promotion. It was starting to get a little juicy. This reminds me of a perfume that my mom had called Rare Pearls. It was an Avon perfume. It smells so, so pleasant and pretty. And this was just a beautiful scent in my bedroom. So I'm proud of myself for actually finishing that bar. I also finished a bar of Apple Parsley. So this is a very green type scent, so you do get the tartness from the green apple, and then there is a little bit of kind of an herbal note from the parsley. It's really good. I feel like Scentsy does this kind of scent profile pretty frequently, so I was kind of sad to finish this bar though, just because the packaging is so cute. It was from the Life's a Garden collection a few years ago, and I just loved the packaging on that collection, so that was really cute. So from this summer's Bring Back My Bar, I finished Grapefruit Pomegranate. This is grapefruit, pomegranate, and orange, and like I said, I had been kind of looking for a go-to citrusy scent for the summer. I was hoping this would be it, but this just did not hit it for me. This one smells like a very cleaner type grapefruit scent. In fact, in the comments on my last video, someone had mentioned that it reminded them of like a Clorox Scentiva type wipe, and that's exactly what this smells like to me. I did not really love this one. It wasn't a super strong performer for me either, so it wouldn't be a repurchase. I was glad I had a chance to try it though, but this was just not the go-to citrus scent of the summer that I was looking for. I went through a bar of Everlasting Gobstopper. This was from the Willy Wonka wax collection. This one had started to get a little juicy, but this just reminds me of like an orange baby aspirin. So it is very sweet, very candy-like. You do get that kind of just like really saturated artificial orange scent. I liked this better on cold than I did on warm. When this was warming, I don't know, I think it was just a little overwhelming and I was just kind of ready to take it out. I'd actually picked this collection up when it was available either in a flash sale or a clearance section. So I don't know if this would be a repurchase for me. It was just a lot. It was very, very sweet, very kind of artificial citrus. Also from this summer's Bring Back My Bar, I went through Amalfi Coast. So this was another one that I was hoping might be my go-to citrus scent of the summer. This is pomelo, white grapefruit, and capri lime. And this was good. To me, it actually reminded me a lot of Be Fabulous, with that very kind of sweet, almost like limoncello grapefruit kind of combination. Be Fabulous is just such a good performer for me. And for some reason, I actually associate that scent a little bit more with like winter to spring transition. And this just smelled a lot like that, but not quite as strong to me. So I liked this scent, but it just wouldn't be a repurchase for me. And like I said, I think I found that go-to bright, clean citrus scent in Terrazza del Sole. So I was very happy to find that one. I was excited for Amalfi Coast, but it just didn't quite live up to what I was hoping it would be. I finished an old bar of strawberry and rock melon. So this was from the International Wax Collection. This is just a strawberry cantaloupe mix. I have never smelled a more authentic cantaloupe scent than this scent. So if you like cantaloupe, you should definitely be on the lookout for strawberry and rock melon. From another really old collection, I finished this bar of Lights Out. This was part of the Catching Z's collection years ago. This was just a really pleasant, kind of warm, amber, cashmere type scent. Really pleasant. I don't know if this would be like a repurchase for me just because it's not a super unique type scent, but it was very, very pleasant. So that was Lights Out, and the packaging again is just adorable on that. I went through a bar of Cypress and Citron. This is Citron, Cypress, and Petitgrain. This was part of the Inspire collection that they released, I think either in December or January, and then they actually brought this bar into the catalog. Of the 3 bars that were part of that Inspire collection, this was my least favorite, and this was just okay. It is kind of like a clean citron kind of scent. This actually wouldn't be a repurchase for me. Through an old favorite, this is Citrus Rosemary. So this was originally part of a summer brick release, and I love this scent. I think somewhere in here is probably Morning Herb Garden, and this is what I was hoping Morning Herb Garden would be. This is just very pleasant. The rosemary in here is enough to make it feel a little savory without being too like herbaceous. The Morning Herb Garden is basil, white florals, and cedarwood, and to me this is very, very pungent. You get a lot of that like very true basil. I think I could have done without the white florals in this scent. This is just a little much for me, but I was happy to see Scentsy kind of break out of the box with this one because it is different, it is unique, but it was just a little too herbaceous, too green for my nose. I went through an old bar of Summer Sunshine. So this was a flat-backed bar. This is just very, very pretty. This smells a little bit like the Tropical Coconut Nectar, but this smells a little bit more balanced to me. There's something a little bit more like body care about this, a little sweeter. I like the coconut in this one. So this is what I wish Tropical Coconut Nectar would be. So I hope we see Summer Sunshine back one day. That would definitely be a club edition for me. From back in the spring, I went through Honeysuckle Dew. This is a very authentic white floral honeysuckle note. This definitely smells very strong, very authentic. You have to like floral to like this scent, but in the springtime I can handle a few like true florals, and this one was actually really pleasant and a really good performer. I went through an old favorite, Cocoa Lime. So this was part of my May Melting Challenge picks. I warmed this on Cinco de Mayo. This is such an authentic lime with a really sweet coconut note. There's like a hint of saltiness to this. It is so pleasant. It is a really, really good performer too. I have this in my quarterly club. I would love to move it to my bi-monthly spring summer club, but it is so pleasant. I'm so sad that we didn't see this one come back in this year's catalog. So I'd love to see that back as part of like a vault promotion, or, you know, some of these new little releases that they've been doing. I went through a bar of pink rhubarb sugar. This actually smells a lot like lemon thyme berry, maybe a little bit more tart than that, but along the same lines. Here's another bar of Keep On Bloomin', so a really nice spring floral that is so pretty. It smells kind of like Biolage shampoo to me. I went through a bar of Farmer's Market Lane, and this is pear, garden greens, and citron. This is also very, very green. This has a very savory herbal note to me. With the pear, it's just an interesting combination. It's not a bad smell. I actually prefer this one to Morning Herb Garden, but this also does have a very savory, herbaceous, like just picked from the garden scent. So I do think that Scentsy did a really good job with these scents for like the farmer's market theme. It's just not a scent that I would reach for all the time. So that was Farmer's Market Lane. Here's another bar of Passion Flower Paradise. I love that one. Here's another bar of Blue Skies and Bergamot. I do have a little stash of this from when it was a scent of the month, so I'm trying to go through those. I actually do like this scent and probably would repurchase it again when I'm through my original stash. A new addition to this year's catalog is Saltwater and Saffron. So this is Lemon, Saffron, and Driftwood. This one has been very hit or miss for people. This is a really weird scent. So when I first smelled this, it actually reminded me of like a ginger stir fry. There was just something very savory about this, and it must be coming from the saffron. It really did remind me of like ginger stir fry. When I warmed it, there was something about it that reminded me of the woodsy note in White Oak Woodland. So I very much prefer White Oak Woodland to Saltwater and Saffron, but I don't know, this was kind of like the spring summer version of White Oak Woodland with a little bit of this like savory saffron. So it was definitely different. I don't think this would be a repurchase, but yeah, it was definitely different and unique. I went through a bar of You're My Buttercup. I believe this is part of the Bring Back My Bar currently, and this is really, really pretty. This is another kind of like shampoo floral type scent. This is bright, this is sweet. This is a really good performer. I did toy with the idea of putting this one in my club because it is so, so pleasant. I just don't need a ton of florals in my club, but this definitely would be a repurchase for me. I went through an old bar of Spring Forward. So this was a flat-backed bar. This was a scent of the month that I did have in my club for a while. This is Italian Bergamot, Raspberry Jam, and Cedarwood, and this is just such a really, really pleasant combination of those. This was one of my go-to scents for the spring for so long that it just reminds me of like around Easter, but it is a really, really pleasant scent. There's also something about this that reminds me a little bit of like an Avon bubble bath. So it's really pleasant and I really like Spring Forward. I went through a bar of Wild Citrus and Sugarcane. This is Yuzu, Tangerine, and Lychee. And this is just such a bright, sunshiny scent. This used to be called Wild for Wildflowers, and it actually reminds me a lot of one of my all-time favorite scents, #Shine. Wild Citrus and Sugarcane is a little bit more tropical with the lychee. #Shine just smells like a perfumey orange juice. I love it, but yeah, there's something about these two that smell similar to me, so I really like them both. #Shine is in my club, and then if Wild Citrus and Sugarcane is discontinued, I would put that one in my club. It is really good. Also from this summer's Bring Back My Bar, I went through a bar of Grapefruit Sunshine. I really like this scent. I actually have a little stockpile of it, so I don't need to add it to my club, but it is very sweet. and bright. It's not a very bitter grapefruit. It definitely is sweet. I think it has a little bit of vanilla just to kind of tone things down a little bit, but it's one of my favorite grapefruit scents. I finished a bar of prickly pear and agave, and this is a really old bar. I honestly don't even remember warming this one, but this is a very, very strong scent. This just smells kind of like old school Scentsy to me. It is very green. There's something a little kind of like spa-like about it, but it is a very bright green scent. So that's prickly pear and agave. I went through a bar of breeze and balsam, and I believe this was part of the April edit. This is lemon, mint, and balsam. And when this was warming, it actually reminded me a little bit of lime and sugarcane. To me, that is kind of like a bright, fresh, minty, clean lime scent. There was something about it that reminded me of that. I think it's the balsam in here that is just kind of smoothing this out a little bit and making it actually smell a little soapy to my nose. This wasn't a very strong performer, and I don't think it would be a repurchase for me. With that scent profile, lemon, mint, and balsam, I definitely prefer the Terrazzo del Soleil with the mint, citrus, and jasmine. I definitely prefer that to this, but this was pleasant. It just wasn't a very strong performer for me. I believe this was April's scent of the month, Mist and Magnolia. And this is Ocean Mist, Magnolia, and Driftwood. And this is pretty. It's just kind of a like breezy, floral, aquatic type scent. I warmed this in, I think I warmed this in our bedroom and in our bathroom. It wasn't a super strong performer, and it wouldn't be a repurchase for me, but it was pleasant. I finished an old bar of Down the Aisle. So this is part of the Bring Back My Bar this summer. This was a very old moment by moment collection. This is just a very pleasant, kind of crisp, perfumey, body care floral type scent. Let's look up the notes. This is dewy greens, watery pear, and peony blossoms. Yeah, and I definitely get that combination. There is a green note, there is a little bit of sweetness from the pear, and a really pretty floral peony. So that is really pleasant. I don't know if it would be a repurchase for me, but it is a nice one. I also warmed Peace Lily Be With You. I think I warmed this around Easter. And this is another like bright, clean, kind of shampoo floral type scent. This one also reminds me of a Biolage shampoo, so I do like that one. I also warmed from the All Is Well collection, Vitamin R Relax. This one kind of reminds me of the Lights Out scent. It's just a nice kind of ambery, musky type scent. It's sweet and pleasant, and we warmed this down in our family room, and it was really nice. In my bedroom, I warmed Rio Beach. So this was an old Bring Back My Bar. It actually made an appearance in one of the weekly drops this season. And so, woo, it is strong. So you could add this back to your club. I didn't add it to my permanent club. I did pick up 3 bars just to have in my stash. This is very, very strong. It is kind of a creamy tropical scent. It was such a good performer in my bedroom. It went for days and days, and I liked it more the longer it went. Scentsy says this is coconut milk, tropical fruit, and tonka bean. I think it's the tonka bean, probably mixed with the coconut milk, that's coming off a little like sweet bakery almost. But as those notes tamper down a little bit, it is just this beautiful kind of tropical, warm, beachy scent. Really, really pleasant. So, and also a really, really good performer. From the Devil Wears Prada collection, I did warm Everybody Wants to Be Us. I warmed this in my bedroom, and it was a good performer. It reminds me so much of a Jimmy Choo perfume. So if you like, you know, those beautiful kind of perfumey florals, this is a very kind of sweet ambery perfume type scent, but it was really pleasant. And then from the Jane Austen collection, I finished the Pride and Prejudice, A Truth Universally Acknowledged. This one was a little powdery rose to me, so this one wouldn't be a repurchase, but it was a pretty scent. I did Emma Matchmaker's Heart. This was a little bit brighter. There's a little bit more of a fruity note to this one, so I did like that one a little bit more. Also very perfumey. And then I did Persuasion by the Sea at Lime. I warmed this one in our bathroom, and there is kind of a aquatic note to this. Scentsy describes it as sea breeze and neroli blossom, and I definitely agree with that. There's something about this that reminds me a little bit of sea breeze. It wouldn't be a repurchase for me. I decided that I don't really love sea breeze either. There's something that just smells a little tiny bit bug spray about that one, and I'm picking that up a little with this one here, but it was a pretty good performer. And then I just have some scent circles. So I did Iridescent Pearl. Again, I'm trying to get through some of my old stash because I found that my scent circles are not lasting forever. Candy Crave, I love that one. Here's my Tropical Coconut Nectar. Really, this just smells like cardboard to me. Summer Holiday, this is my all-time favorite scent circle. I would love to see this one back. It was like my signature scent for my car in the summer for a long time, and I actually went through 2 of those. This is so hard to read. I believe this is Pina Colada Cha Cha. Yeah, I can see it a little bit better in the camera, but it is very low contrast. I love Pina Colada Cha Cha. I was trying to find a replacement for it, so that's why I tried the Tropical Coconut Nectar, but it just is not the same. In that same kind of vein, I did pick up from the clearance section Sun Castles. Look how awful that looks. This is supposed to be yellow, and it just looks like a very yucky brown color. I love the scent Sun Castles. This scent circle didn't last a very long time, so that makes me sad, and I would love to see Sun Castles back in the catalog. And then I went through 2 Sorrento Breeze. So this was a very pleasant scent. It just wasn't very strong, and it didn't last very long, so I don't know if that would be a repurchase for me. And then I did finish a small tub of Washer Whiffs in Clothesline. This is just a quintessential laundry scent. It's very, very strong. I don't know if this would be a repurchase for me, just because if I am going to get Washer Whiffs, I want them to smell like something that I couldn't just get at the grocery store, like that would smell like any other laundry scent. And to me, that's kind of what Clothesline smells like, just any laundry scent. That's why I love Pink Cotton, is because it's so unique, and oh, I love it. I wish that they would just bring it back in the catalog. And then the last thing that I have here, it's not Scentsy, but I figured it was worth mentioning. It was a Bath and Body Works foaming hand soap refill in Kitchen Lemon. So this is what I had in my kitchen for the spring and summer, and it's just a classic kitchen lemon scent. So I love that. So thank you for sticking it out through this very long empties video. I would love to know what you have been warming and enjoying. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.